Well, it's a massive step forward for the Parkes family. They've been living in limbo for 37 years. Simon is still classed as missing. And what the family want more than anything is for the truth to come out about what happened to him, what happened that night. They believe he was unlawfully killed, and that is exactly what we will set out to present to the coroner. Of course, it's for the coroner to make that decision, but very significantly, you heard in my report there that the Parkes family did make a request for an inquest back in 2006. That was declined, and one of the reasons it was declined is because the coroner at that time said that he couldn't be certain that Simon had died in Gibraltar. Now, this is a requirement by Gibraltar law. You have to be satisfied, the test of holding an inquest is that you have to be satisfied that the person has died in Gibraltar and either a violent or a natural death or has died a sudden death. And by virtue of the fact that the coroner, Charles Bonfante, has granted this inquest, it's implicit, his acceptance that that is what happened is implicit in that decision.
So what's changed for that to happen, for the coroner to now grant an inquest?
Well, I believe, presented the information to the coroner's court that left him in little doubt that that was the actual case. The Parkes family didn't have anyone advocating for them back in 2006 when they made that first request. I, of course, have been involved with this for the past 3 years. I approached Danny Feetham, and in fact, he offered his services pro bono, and he took a look at this, and of course, he saw that at that time, there was a conflation of two issues, the test for holding an inquest, but also the seeking of the verdict of unlawful killing, because back then, the criminal standard applied, which is beyond a reasonable doubt, that has now changed. It's now in the balance of probabilities. So that also has changed. So the two issues, the fact is, those are two separate issues. The fact is that Simon's case meets the test for an inquest to be held. It should have been held back in 2006. And I'm very grateful, we are all very grateful that this coroner has righted that wrong. And in a sense, that's already justice in itself. And it could be history in the making. I've only asked ChatGPT, which we know isn't 100% correct, but we think it is potentially the biggest gap between a death and a first inquest, 37 years.
So, as we know, despite extensive searches around Gibraltar, no body has ever been found. So that's going to be a bit of a hurdle when it comes to carrying out an inquest.
It certainly makes it more complex, but it's not an impediment to holding an inquest. And that's why there's an added layer in Gibraltar law where if there is no body, the coroner has to refer the matter to the Minister for Justice under Section 10 of the Act. And the coroner did that. He presented the case. He had already looked at the evidence. He presented it to the Minister for Justice, who then directed him to hold the inquest.